Ww3
Well, you live to see it. When I tell you these things, I mean it from the bottom of my heart, from the deepest sources of my discernment and intellect. But you don't need me to tell you. You can feel the wings of death flapping around you. The end of the age, thermonuclear war, bio-war, mass starvation, the end of civilization as we know it. It has been initiated. They want 90% of us dead within 7 years. This is just the beginning. Every day could be our last here, my friends. But I'm going to stay at my post and go down with the ship. We have a chance to avert this. But the globalists are invoking the Bible and twisting prophecy and saying that Revelation is now being fulfilled and that then a leader will appear, the Messiah, to save us. But the first Messiah that appears in this time is the Antichrist, the counterfeit. It's very clear. I'm not just speculating now. I told you with 100% precision how they lay this out. Wars, economic collapse, world ID, UN treaty, race war, food supply being cut off, energy being cut off. Just like the shot and the release of the virus had to be covered up with wars, the food collapse that's already been put into motion, the dominoes have already been knocked over. Use the V for Vendetta video where he hits the first domino and then it starts hitting the thousands of others. The dominoes are about 10% down right now, and now they're accelerating out. Netanyahu is literally invoking Isaiah and saying, we're going to exterminate their farm animals. We're going to kill their cows, their sheep, their goats, and their donkeys. The Muslims are saying the same thing back, believing they're following prophecy. We know there was a stand down in Israel. Was it Netanyahu or was it the groups that want him out of power? We don't know. A lot of people that I trust, like Patrick Byrne, who's done a lot of research, and the guy's the real deal. He's got a whole bunch of doctorates in this. And he travels the world. He says it was a setup against Netanyahu. And I'm not trying to defend Netanyahu. I'm just putting that out there. We don't know who stood down in Israel, but we know it happened. And we know in September, they took the guns from the private security forces in that area of southern Israel on the border with the Gaza Strip and 2+ million people that want to kill them. So regardless, they had attack helicopters minutes away, didn't send them for 7 hours. This was a false flag. This was allowed to happen. There's different types of false flags. There's the type where you let something happen or you actually totally stage it. There's 3 or 4 different variants, according to the Pentagon's own definitions of it. But this was a stand down, which is a form of false flag. So let me just pull back here as calmly as I can with everybody and lay this out for you right now. This is a cascade of global crises that will irrevocably make the carrying capacity of the industrialized world that allowed this giant population to form collapse. A microcosm is Iraq and the sanctions put on them in 1990, intensified in 1994 by Clinton, basically tripled them. No medicine, no energy can be sold, no energy can be brought in, no infrastructure parts. And so they lost 3 million people of starvation and illness. By the end of it, 1.5 million of them children. You're like, well, wait a minute. Madeleine Albright said 500,000 kids were a good price to pay. That was a couple years into it. It ended up being over 1 million children. The State Department admits that. Now, it's the same thing here. You cut off the medicine and you cut off the energy or make it too expensive for the average person to get, you're going to cause crime, you're going to cause homelessness, you're going to cause civil unrest, you're going to cause civil war. And I've got a stack of mainstream news here in Europe, the US, Canada, you name it, saying mainline analysts believe we're going to have a civil war. But instead of a civil war against the globalists and against BlackRock, Black Lives Matter, funded by the same globalist groups, is setting it up as black against white and Islamicist against Israel supporter. And you see it everywhere. And Muslims are a fifth column of the globalists because they control them politically and fund their leaders, where the globalists can activate these groups anytime they're told by their leaders. And we saw a Muslim mob, we'll roll some B-roll of that, storms airport in Russia's Dagestan in search of Jewish refugees, took over the airport, a large airport, ran out, took over the tarmac. This is what's going on. We've got the footage of them in the airport itself taking over, saying, give us the Jews, we're going to kill them. We have millions in our country. They have tens of millions in Europe and millions more coming. The border's wide open. So that's how dangerous all this has gotten. Allah Akbar. So that's why I keep saying since October 7th, let's have the 35,000-foot view here. Soros is funding these groups all over the world. That's in the New York Post today. So you have the left preparing the civil unrest around the world. They knew when this attack happened in Israel, Israel would go into war mode. Israel would start attacking and leveling things. The Arab countries would get angry. The most powerful Muslim country, hands down Turkey with nuclear weapons. Erdogan threatened to invade Israel last week, Friday. It's on. U.S. troops are being deployed. Hundreds of aircraft, hundreds, are landing a day with munitions and troops. Hundreds of flights. And I've got the new Speaker of the House saying we need to go to war against all those countries. We are. We're ready. Going to play that clip coming up. So that's where we are. They're going to release another virus. They're going to release a new deadly shot. They're going to continue to cut off the fertilizer. They're going to continue to cut off the fuel. It was 25% a few months ago. Now the estimates by the big central banks is a 30% cut in world fertilizer. And the numbers are always about 6 months behind. So 6 months ago, there was a 30% cut in world fertilizer production, not just because of the Ukraine war. Governments are going around into the ESGs and BlackRock and the UN, cutting bank loans and funding and passing laws and regulations to not just cut the fertilizer, but make you kill the cows and the sheep, claiming their feces is toxic. Even though that's part of the growth cycle and what makes the grass grow and is good. You go to Africa, there are millions of water buffalo just roaming around. You can breed them with a cow. It's a cow. So we get rid of the water buffalo because they eat grass and then poop? Anybody ever worked on a farm, sees where the cows go to the bathroom in the field, it makes the grass even greener. It's manure. You use it to grow your crops. It's good. The main food source in the Nile for the fish that the crocodiles eat, the humans eat, is the poop of the hippopotamuses. Again, they're telling you cut trees down, they're bad for the earth. They're telling you capture cow farts, methane's bad. You pass methane. It's part of the atmosphere. They tell you carbon dioxide that plants breathe is bad. And they tell you the world's going to end as you know it by 2030. What did William Shatner, when he went up in space with Jeff Bezos' team, he came down and he cried and he said, I looked down and knew the calamity and the cataclysm that was about to happen, that most of the people would be dead soon. And it's so sad to know it's got to happen. And they go, sir, please be quiet. He's in the group. He's been promised life extension if he joins them. I know a bunch of these people. My intel reaches to the very highest levels, but I don't need to have that intel. I can see it all around me. Morgan Friedman went on The View last week. It's now been canceled. It's not going to air next year. They're done with them. The whole corporate media is going to basically get laid off. It's all going AI. And he said, yeah, too bad we're about to have an extinction event by 2030. There'll probably be no humans left. In fact, I read the transcript Saturday. I covered it last night briefly. Will you get the Morgan Friedman part of the interview where he talks about that? So all these different globalists, from Bill Gates to Klaus Schwab to Yuval Noah Harari to their minions, Beto O'Rourke and AOC and Extinction Rebellion, they're all telling you that the end of humanity is imminent. And that's because they're setting up the cataclysm, and they want you to then have it as a self-fulfilling prophecy when it happens. And I know I talk a lot about this, but it is now 100% sure they're doing this. Told you 3.5 years ago. The virus is man-made. The shot's going to be deadly, going to cause heart attacks, myocarditis. They're then going to cover up that big event with a war, a financial collapse, a group of wars, and new viruses. And now it's happening. Exactly as I said they would do it, because I know the enemy. It's all I do. It's all I do. When I'm out there kicking a soccer ball with my daughter at the park down the street, I'm thinking about how innocent and good she is. That's only one part of my mind. All the rest of my brain is focused on this, because it's her future and my other daughter's future and my other daughter's future and my son's future and your sons and daughters' future. This is 100% going down. And it's a lot bigger task than backing them off their latest COVID lockdowns partially. You got upset, you got focused, the enemy started rolling it out, you saw it, major opposition, they backed off all over the world. We can stop them. But if you're a banker or a professor or a bureaucrat or a intelligence agency person, or you work for the federal police organizations and the different Justice Department systems around the world, you know you work for a tyranny. You know you're compartmentalized. You know that real tyranny is being set up. And you will be destroyed by the globalists, just like I will be, if we don't stop these madmen and women. They are into genocide. It's their religion. In fact, they'd erased it off the internet, but about 2 weeks ago, we found the full 60 Minutes, and I sent you guys a 4-minute clip from 60 Minutes that's actually in higher def than the little short clip we had with Leslie Stahl talking to Madeleine Albright, the Secretary of State, where she says, yeah, we think killing 500,000 kids is a good price to pay. And they killed another million after that. Find me, I see like a 4-minute, we finally found a clean version of it. The other one we had was like so grainy, a copy of 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 a copy. This is like a VHS first-gen copy. It's clean. And then you tie that into Netanyahu saying, we're not just going to kill all the men, women, and children. We're going to kill their farm animals. We're going to kill their cows, their sheep, and their donkeys. Because just because they had those cows and sheep and donkeys, the Palestinians are so dirty and so evil, their animals deserve to die. Their cats, their dogs, every living thing. No stone will be left unturned. The message he's putting out is the message being spouted by a large number in the Knesset. Now, sit back and think. Do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is stupid? No, he's very, very sly. He's very, very smart. He knows rhetoric like that is going to stir up all of the Muslim nations that surround Israel. And then he knows that what he's saying and doing is rubbing salt in the wound, and that's the orders he's been given by the globalists to get a full regional war going, because just like Wesley Clark famously said, he saw at the Pentagon that plan to take out all the countries, including Egypt. And what did Obama do? He funded the Arab Spring that overthrew our allies and put the Muslim Brotherhood in, that blew up hundreds of churches and killed tens of thousands of Christians and ran the few final Jews out of Egypt. And so they are setting up a full Mideast war. Russia's winning in Ukraine. And then what's China going to do? They're going to move into Taiwan. And unless we use nuclear weapons, they can't be stopped. But that's because the globalists have a larger plan to set America up in the end and destroy our name and basically relegate us into the future. And there'll be a new NATO, UN, China/US as a junior partner in all of this. And then we'll be under the world government. That's the gamble they're going for. With the world ID, with the UN treaty to take over your body and make you take all these shots. And you've got Erdogan threatening to invade Israel, saying we'll invade in the middle of the night, as he speaks to a crowd that looks like 3 million people. I don't know the number, but it's one of the biggest crowds I've ever seen. Looks like a Metallica concert in Brazil or something. You've seen those were like 5 million people. I mean, you know when you're looking at millions. It's bigger than Bolsonaro rallies, and those are over 1.5 million. It's just boo, millions and millions of people, and they're screaming, we're going to kill the Jews. And then Netanyahu is saying exactly what will punch their buttons. So the Israelis get killed and massacred to punch their buttons. Now, Netanyahu goes way too far. And even if he's going to kill people like that, he shouldn't have the rhetoric, we're going to exterminate, we're going to genocide people. So here's the bottom line. This is a global plan to bring in global instability as a smokescreen for the fertilizer and the energy that's already cut off, that's already going to kill hundreds and hundreds of millions of people, even the UN estimates. So the UN runs the policies of cutting off the fertilizer and locking people down and cutting off the energy. But then they say, oh, we need tens of billions of dollars. We're going to have hundreds of millions starved to death starting now. And they starved over 80 million people to death during the lockdowns. And all that civil unrest around the world will then be organized. The survivors, military-age men, will be flooded into Europe, into North America. This is it. And the World ID and the cashless society and the ESGs and all of it is going to then cover up all the dead and dying with the heart attacks, because that's the old story. We're moving on to the next bigger crisis. So they cover up each big rollout of their attack plan on civilization to fully collapse industrial society by 2030, to then reduce population by 90%. That's their goal. They're the ones saying it, not me. I'm not the one saying the world ends in 2030. I'm not Morgan Freeman. I'm not William Shatner. I'm not Beto O'Rourke. I'm not Greta Thunberg. I'm not the UN. I'm not Klaus Schwab. I'm not Yuval Noah Harari. I'm not Bill Gates. They're the ones. But once the collapse accelerates, and I told you this over and over again too, suddenly they'll be against open borders. Suddenly they'll be a little bit against the shot. Suddenly they'll say, be nice to the medical workers that tried to make you do this. Be our friends. And now they're doing that. So they're even thinking about the public as if you don't have a memory. They're now even acting like they're with us. That's why the lady on the Young Turds, whatever her name is, Anna Kasparian, has come out and said, I hate the liberals, I hate California, I hate defunding the police, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And that's why Bill Maher's doing all that, because they've done their job. They believe the country's collapse is already unstoppable, and they've been given their directive, their talking point. Now, I said it's not clear whether Musk did this early on, knowing that he didn't want to get blamed. He wanted to be on our side because he thinks we can stop it. And maybe all these other people have been joining us because of this. But I know with her, it's because they've gotten the directive. I know they read strictly off a Soros script. So the globalists are already positioning themselves to act like they aren't the authors of what we're now living through. So I hate to get so negative here with you, but it's actually very, very positive that we're still on air and able to warn you about this. And the enemy doesn't like this show and wants us off air, because when they tune in, they know this guy's got our number. His guests have our number. How does this guy know this? I've been investigated by the CIA, the FBI. I've been under massive surveillance. I've been sued by these federal groups to try to find the documents, to find who's funding us, to find who's giving me intel. Years ago, you know, if I took my daughter to the park or whatever, there'd be feds there and watching. And then they just kept asking. And I've had the FBI, you know, call up and ask me and the rest of it. Okay, how did you know this? How did you know that? And the Secret Service call and say, how'd you know this? How'd you know that? How the hell wouldn't I know this? They've got all their people out there preparing the next phase of their operation. Because my head's in the game. That's why I know. This is all I do. And they think like when I'm at the park, I'm being handed like a document. This is what you say. It comes out of my head. How can you not look and see what's going on? And they finally come to the realization, I'm not run by somebody. Because see, they're all run by somebody. They all get told what to say. They all get told what to do. I don't. And the public sees it too. This is not even rocket science. But the horror that they're creating is so terrible, they believe you'll be scared of it subconsciously and won't admit how bad it is because it's too scary to admit it, when only admitting it and then doing something about it will stop them. So, I don't know, we've got a month, 6 months, a year. This could kick off any day now. But I know we've got a chance to pray. We've got a chance to educate others, a chance to be heard, a chance to speak out. Any place where you got a venue, county commissioners, legislatures, calling in to talk radio, C-SPAN, going to events, talking to these politicians, educating them, going to school boards, talking to your neighbors. But the most important thing is sharing the articles, sharing the links, sharing the videos like your life depends on it, because it does. We need what I've talked about in the last 45 minutes to go viral everywhere. Because it's the truth. Now, I didn't finish the last big part, and I'll hit that at the start of the next hour, but I'll just say it here for bookends and expand on it. Obviously, this helps all these governments that are about to have the bubble completely pop and are going to have the public mad at them. So they want wars and new viruses and civil unrest they can activate to make it a black-white thing or a Muslim-Jew thing. You see what's going on. And, of course, the next big shoe to drop is, the way this is going, very good chance that what I've said and Tucker Carlson has said and Jack Posobiec has said and Steve Bannon has said is true. It looks like they're getting ready to cancel the election. And that's the big takeaway. It's very clear. They're cutting off the energy. They're cutting off the fertilizer. They're cutting off the food. At levels they're going to kill hundreds of millions just to begin. They've already killed 80+ million with the lockdowns. They're preparing new viruses, new lockdowns. Netanyahu is doing everything he can to stir up the Middle East with provocative speeches about we're going to exterminate all of the people in Gaza, and including their farm animals. And then the Muslims are being led by Erdogan, calling for attacking Israel and saying Turkey may invade Israel. I mean, this is Armageddon type stuff. Muslims demonstrating, protesting, attacking all over the world. In Russia, taking over an airfield, Dagestan, or the Russian Federation, taking over, trying to pull Israelis off an aircraft. This is a global crisis. That's why I said expect Hamas, Hezbollah, and others to launch terror attacks inside the West. Very, very serious time to be alive, where the globalists may stage a false flag. Let's play Netanyahu talking about quotes from the Bible where they specifically discuss genocide. Here it is.
You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible. And we do remember, and we are fighting. Our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza and in all other regions in Israel are joining this chain of Jewish heroes, a chain that has started 3,000 years ago from Joshua ben Nun until the heroes of 1948, the Six-Day War, the 73 October War, and all other wars in this country. Our hero troops, they have one supreme main goal: to completely defeat the murderous enemy and to guarantee our existence in this country. We've always said, never again. Never again is now.
And then he specifically quotes the Bible verse as well. Let's put that Bible verse up there that talks about killing even the farm animals. And then again, we've got Erdogan saying he's looking to invade Israel out of Turkey. This is all insane. And Israel is losing its information war around the world. The public's not buying it. But evangelical Christians and others in their bubbles are going along with it. And again, it's all part of a larger countdown to a worldwide meltdown. So here's some of the headlines. Mike Johnson, the new GOP Speaker of the House, Tell Sean Hannity we cannot allow Putin to prevail in Ukraine. U.S. boots on the ground may be required to stand with Israel. Supports Israel directly attacking Iran. Russia, China, and Iran are the axis of evil. Wider war will bring inevitable attempts at martial law. Excellent article by Ben Warren on Infowars.com. That's what this is all about, and suspending the election. Northern and Western Europe are drifting towards civil war, Hungarian historian warns. Black Hebrew Israelites are now battling pro-Palestinian protesters in Chicago. People of Dagestan have stormed their airport after hearing a plane from Israel has landed. Thousands of pro-Hamas agitators and ultra-Orthodox Jews calling for Israel's destruction shut down Brooklyn Bridge. Businesses vandalized with disgusting anti-Semitic stickers. Groups behind Israel bashing protests back to Hamas got 15 million plus from Soros. New York Post. Trump for 4 straight years, I wish it was 8, for 4 straight years I kept America safe, I kept Israel safe, and kept the world safe. Today, the world is blowing up all around us. No matter where you look, if I were president, the attack on Israel would never, ever have happened.